Welcome, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah.
Amen.
So we are, in fact, continuing this encounter that Moses and Aaron had with Pharaoh, and we know that Pharaoh was such a mean, incredibly mean, strategically too clever, right? And basically trying to punish the Israelites for saying they wanted a few days off and trying to make Moses and Aaron look bad for having done this, right? For initiating this. Nothing is new under the sun, right? Okay, so what happened was we read yesterday how of course the punishment was that heretofore the Israelites had been provided straw to make the number of bricks they had to come up with, and from here on in they were going to have to get their own straw. That was the specifics of this, and the Egyptian taskmasters were beating the Hebrew officers to make sure that because they hadn't been producing all the bricks they were supposed to produce as they had up to that point. So, Vayavo'u shotrei vnei Israel, and the officers of the children of Israel came, Vayitz'aku el Paro lemor, and they cried out to Pharaoh, saying, Lama ta'aseh chol la'avadecha? Why do you do this? Why do such a thing to your servants? So let's find the place here, and that is verse Tet Vav. Let's find Tet Vav.
Did did you say the
I
blessing?
don't think I did. And the trouble. Okay, let me go ahead and say it. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. So
Amen.
there's no Rashi on this verse. Let's keep going. Teven ein nitan la'avadecha. This is what the Hebrew officers are saying. The Israelite officers are saying.
There. Oh,
Yeah, go
okay.
ahead. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go
Okay.
ahead.
No straw is given to your servants. Ulevenim umrim lanu aso, and you're telling us to make bricks. Vehine avadecha mukim vechatat amecha, right? And behold, your servants are being beaten,
From Harriet
right?
Rudensky.
And this brings offense to your people. So I'm saying compare Rashi because there's one slight little detail, right? This little thing here, this little kamatz, that makes all the difference, and that Rashi points out to us, to the fact that that makes a difference, because otherwise, right, it would mean v'chatat amecha, if this was not a kamatz, right? I'm anticipating Rashi right now. It would be a patach, and that would make this sin of your people. But chatat amecha, it now has to stand by itself, right? And so now it means, that the offense, right? It brings offense to your people. Okay, let's make sure about this here. Let's see what this is. Okay, sorry. This is just needs to get removed. Here we are. Okay. Let's take a look at the Rashi now. So the syntax Rashi has to comment on this, right? Ulevainim omrim lanu aso, and they tell us we still have to make bricks. Hanogsim omrim, the taskmasters say asu lanu levainim kaminyan harishon. They say you have to produce the bricks for us just as the original with the original number that you have to do.
No, sir.
Sorry, did you want to say something?
No, sorry, sir.
Okay. V'chatat amecha, right? And it is bringing offense to your people, this fact that they're asking this. Ilu, now Rashi goes into this grammatical explanation. Ilu haya nakud patach, were there a patach, as I explained before, if this vowel here was a patach, right? That's the straight line, right? This is a patach right here. That's a patach. Hayiti Omer, I would think, Shehu Davuk, meaning that it is attached. Literally, it means attached, meaning sin of, right? It's a way, this is an expression in Hebrew, a use of syntax in Hebrew, where a word is called, it's called smichut, and what it does is it's like the apostrophe S, okay? V'davar ze chatat amcha. In other words, that it is the sin of, that's the point, of your people, right? Which wouldn't make any sense, right? Ze chatat amcha hu, period. Achshav, but now, shehu kamatz, because it's a kamatz, that's that little T-vel, shem davarhu, it's a noun, stands by itself as a noun. V'kach pirusho, and so we need to explain it this way. V'davar ze, this particular thing, this chatat, right? Sorry, this matter of insisting on the same number of bricks, mevi chatat alamecha, it brings an offense on your people. In other words, it causes that offense. Ke'ilu, as if, katav, as it, or katuv, this could be just simply a misprint here, right? V'chatat la'amcha, right? And it's, or so I'm going to pronounce it that way, assuming, right? It is a sin to your people. Come on, and he gives examples in Ruth chapter 1, Kavo'enna Beit Lechem, right? Shehu kamo leveit lechem. So even though there's not two, right? La'amecha. So there's no lamed there, meaning, and the sin is brought to your people, right? But he gives examples of where sometimes the lamed is left out. So it is when they came, kavo'ena beit lechem means shehu kamo leveit lechem, as if they came to Bethlehem. V'chein harbe, and there are many other such examples, Rashi says. Okay, let's go back. I think we have a verse here still to do. V'ata, okay, let's see. Sorry, here we go. Yud Zion. Vayomer, and they said to them, in other words, I assume it was the taskmasters who said, Nirpim atem nirpim, you're just really lazy, that's all. You are lazy, you're lazy. And for this reason, because you just aren't really taking care of your work, you're not really devoted to your work. And for this reason, you're saying, let us go and service God. Let's go and make offerings to God. You got time to do that now instead of working. And now, lechu ibdu, go, work. V'teven, but straw lo yinaten lachem. It's not going to be given to you. V'toched levenim titenu, and you still have to come up with the same number of bricks. Rashi. Let's see. No, yep. Just want to make sure we got this. Yes. Rashi on this. V'tochen levenim. So again, Rashi's looking at some of the Hebrew, which is a little more unusual, and he says tochen means cheshbon halevenim. In other words, the amount of bricks. And again, this is typical, rigorous Rashi, giving other examples of what he's trying to suggest as a translation, right? So likewise, in the second book of Kings, chapter 12, I might actually have this, let me see, okay? Et hakesef hamitukan, right? The money that was collected or counted, hamanui. A manui would definitely be counted, right? And here token. So it's amount. Kamosha amar be'inyan vayatsuru vayimnu et hakesef. And so there again, in that same chapter in Kings, it says, I believe it's vayatsuru, they minted and they counted the money. Okay. Going on. Vayiru shotrei v'nei Yisrael otam bara lemor. Okay, and the officers of the children of Israel saw, right, that they were in, this is Safaria helping me here, that they were in a bad situation, right, because the Nogsim were saying, Lo tigru'u b'blivnechem varyom b'yomo, you shall not reduce, understood, the number of your bricks every single day. Every day you need to come up with the exact number of bricks that was required before. Okay, let's take a look just in case there's a Rashi here. And yes, here it is. Again, Vayiru Shotrei Bnei Israel, and the officers of the children of Israel saw. Let's see. So this is how they understood. Chavreihem hanirdim al yadam. In other words, Shetrei Bnei Israel, the officers of the children of Israel, that is their associates, their fellows, Israelites, who were governed by them. So he's saying that, in a sense, we should understand that the officers were seeing that the Israelites in general, bara, were in a bad situation. Ra'u otam bara. They saw how bad the lot was of the children of Israel. V'tzara hamutzet otam, and the trouble that was being brought upon them, that taken out upon them, behachmidam ha'avodah, in making this work so heavy, so onerous, alehem, upon them, more by saying lo tigra'u, when they were saying no, not less, not giving you straw now, but you got to come up with the same number of bricks. I mean, mean, right? So Vayifga'u, so here comes this moment. Vayifga'u et Moshe ve'et Aaron, and the officers encountered Moses and Aaron, nitzavim likratam, standing to meet them, b'tzeitama et Paro, when they came out from Pharaoh's presence. So Vayifga'u. Anashim Israel. In other words, they encountered them, these people from the officers, in other words, people of Israel. It Moshe, they encountered Moses and Aaron, etc. V'rabatenu dershu. So when it's got this word vayifga'u, which is an interesting word, right? Paga, it does mean encounter, but it also sometimes has a harsher meaning. In a sort of a vicious encounter, something like that. The Rabotenu Darshu, and our rabbis interpreted Kol Nitzim v'Nitzavim. Anytime you come across this word Nitzim, quarreling, Nitzavim, standing up. In other words, it's in a sense confronting, right? So Nitzavim has this connotation of a confrontation. Datan v'Abiram. Hayu. That is that scripture, when it uses those words, it's implying that Datan and Abiram were the ones involved, that they were the ones who, even though they're not mentioned by name, they're implied by the use of these particular verbs. Why? Chine'emar bahem, because regarding them in the rebellion of Korach, they were involved in the rebellion of Korach that we'll read about in Numbers. Yatsu nitzavim. It says about them, they went out nitzavim. It uses this word, nitzavim, in that sense, right? Confronting, confrontational. Okay, let's keep going. See if I can. Let's see. I'm having, all right, so now I'm gonna see if I can get back in here. Forgive me. Okay. Okay, nope, gotta go back. Really go back. I'm sorry, computer issues. Yeah, this is really essentially, forgive me, and here, of course, it's all being, oh, there we are, good. My apologies for this. Okay, here we are. Okay. Vayamru alayhem. And the officers said to them, Yere Adonai alachem v'yishpot. Let God look upon you and judge. Asher hivashtem, you have made, just how you've made us loathsome. Hivashtem et reichenu. That expression means made us loathsome. Again, Safaria's translation, Beinei Paro, in the sight of Pharaoh, Uveinei Abadav, and in the sight of his servants, Latet Cherev Bayadam, you've put a sword in their hands, Lahargenu, to kill us. So this is exactly what Pharaoh was hoping to accomplish. that was going to sow discord amongst the Israelites, right? Divide and conquer. Let's take a look here. Kaf Aleph. Let's see if there's anything here. Nope, no Rashi on this. All right, so Vayashov Moshe El Adonai Vayomer, and Moses returned literally, or he, in other words, responded to God and said, Moses responded to God and said, Adonai, Lord, Lama hareota la'am hazeh. Why have you done evil to this people? Lama ze shalachtani. Why did you send me? Right? You can understand how he's feeling. Okay. Lama hareota hala'am hazeh. Ve'im tomar ma ichbat lecha. And this is Rashi sort of trying to interpolate Moses' words. In other words, and if you should say, in other words, God should say, why are you concerned? Why are you concerned? Right? Let's see. I'm wondering, so when I read this, it occurred to me, does it mean, that God could say, why does it bother you, right? Something like that. So, but the answer is, right? In other words, God saying to Moses, why should you be concerned about this? Kovel ani, I can argue, al shishalachtani, because you sent me. So I'm not sure. It's sort of a very interesting Rashi in this sense, right? In other words, is Rashi saying that Moses shouldn't have said anything, right? Why should he have confronted God in this way? Right? In other words, there is a good reason, and that's what I think he's saying here, is that, and this is, by the way, from Shemot Rabbah, from Midrash Rabbah, and so, in other words, whether this was in Moses's mind, right? I'm concerned because you sent me, right, to do this. So, again, I'm not sure exactly who this is referring to, but that's basically the structure going on here. Going on. Ume'as bati el Paro, and since right from the time I've come to Pharaoh, ledaber lishmecha, to speak in your name, heira la'am hazeh, he has done worse, right? He's done evil to this people. V'hatzeh lo hitzalta et amecha, but you definitely haven't rescued your people. It's just gotten worse. So what Moses is saying is, you sent me, told me I should go and rescue this people. I go to do this. Things are getting worse, and you're not rescuing them. Okay. So hey, let's say hey Ra. This expression hey Ra, lashon hifil. He says that this particular construction of the verb has to do with causative. In other words, hifilhu. It's in the hifil form. Harbe ra hirba ra alehem. You have caused much harm to them. So this hey ra is and talking to God and saying, you've caused much harm. V'targumo av ish, right? And the Aramaic is this, you've mistreated, right? You've mistreated them. Okay, going on. Vayomer Hashem el Moshe, and the Lord said to Moses, Hashem said to Moses, Ata, now, tir'eh, you will see, Asher e'aseh Pharaoh, what I will do to Pharaoh, ki v'yad chazaka yishalchem, because he will send them with a strong arm, meaning, in a sense, that he is going to drive them out, right? He's going to make sure that they leave. Uv'yad chazaka, right? Uv'yad chazaka yigashem so, and with this powerful, so he will send them in this powerful way, right? And with a strong hand, literally it means he will chase them out of or drive them out from his land. Going here. So Here we go. Ata tira, now you will see. So this is from Tractate Sanhedrin, page 111. It says, Hirharta al midotai, you have questioned my qualities. God is saying to Moses, you questioned me about my qualities and my quality of justice, etc. Lo Abraham, you didn't do like Abraham, Shamarti lo, because with Abraham I said to him, and this is Genesis chapter 21, Ki v'yitzchak yikareh lecha zera. I said to him, Isaac, through Isaac, your seed will be called, right? In other words, you will have progeny and descendants through Isaac. V'achar kach, and after I told him that, Amarti, I said, Lord, to him, Ha'alehu le'olah, bring him up as an offering. The Lord here achamidutai, and he didn't question my qualities. He didn't question what I was doing. He didn't say to me, "Wait a second, God, didn't you just promise me that Isaac would be, head off all my descendants through Isaac, and here you're telling me to sacrifice him?" Never said that. He just accepted that God knew what God was doing. And here is Moses questioning God, right? Lefichach ata tireh. So looking at this verse very carefully, it says, for this reason, ata, now you will see. Now, and now he's reading it as now you will see, and not later, right? Asui lefaro, you will see what is done to Pharaoh Tir'eh, you will see. Velo asui lemalchei sheva haomot, but you will not see what will be done to the kings of the 7 nations, keshe avien la'aretz, when I bring the Jewish people into the land of Israel, into the land of Canaan. Ki biyad chazaka yishalchem, he will send them off with a mighty hand, a strong hand. Mipnei yadi hachazaka. In other words, the mighty hand is God's mighty hand. Shetechazak alav yishalchem. Right. In other words, because of the way God is going to treat him, he's going to only do this, basically forced. He'll be forced to do this. Ubiyad chazaka yigashem me'atzo, so the parallel statement, and with a mighty hand he will drive them out of his land. Al korcham shall Yisrael, and now it's against the will of the Jewish people. Yigashem, he will drive them out. But lo, let me make sure, yaspiku la'asot lahem tzeda, so that they won't be in a position to prepare food for themselves. David, I see you. Thank you. Go for
Yeah,
it.
so just out of curiosity, is this the point that seals Moses' fate of not entering the land of Canaan instead of it? Because I thought it was because later on they hit the rock and he hits the rock and that's what caused him not. But it sounds like
Correct.
it's already been sealed way back here.
Okay. Well, so I think you're using the right terminology, David. In other words, the possibility of this happens here, but it's sealed when he strikes the rock. But what is really amazing about what we just read is that it's a similar situation. It's just like here, he's questioning God's actions. Later on, when he strikes the rock, he also is questioning God's ability to make water come.
Right, but I thought in the passage it just said God said that he would not, live or would not see the fall of the 7 kings,
Right.
meaning that it's now he's it's sealed now or not late. Well, maybe I'm missing something.
Right.
So
Well, I think, when you're saying sealing, right, it means it cannot be abrogated.
right,
It cannot, but here it's not. So I'm saying here, the possibility, in a sense, it's a warning, right? In other words, had Moses not done what he did when he struck the rock, he might have succeeded. Right.
okay,
Remember, the possibility of tshuva is always out there. But as Maimonides points out, you do it often enough, it becomes next to impossible.
okay,
It's always possible. it just becomes harder and harder and harder to a point where, on a practical level, it's almost impossible. Let me see if I want to finish here. Okay, I think we need to finish this.
Thank you.
So,
Thanks. Got
of
it.
course, of course. No. It's a great question. V'chein hu omer, and likewise it says, v'techazak. So it actually says later on, v'techazak Mitzrayim al ha'am, lamaher l'shalcham. It says later on that the Egyptians, they urged they urged the people to get going, to get them out, to drive them out. In other words, they were so urgent to get them out of their land, out of the land of Egypt at that point, that the Israelites didn't have time to prepare provisions for themselves on the journey, as we know. And of course, that's one of the symbolisms of the matzah, that they didn't even have time for that. So I'm very grateful that God has allowed us to get to this point where we've completed up the Parsha of Shemot with the Rashis, and just wish I'm going to stop the share, and in case there are any other questions, I'm happy to take them. Any other questions? All right. So very good.